Hey guys, after finishing Labyrinth of Zangetsu, let's give it a review. But this one it's going to be a bit different. I just want to focus on how the game had interesting ideas, but they lacked polishing in the execution. And with that, I mean its gameplay. If you are interested in other things like story, graphics and its music, you can find the summary of my thoughts in the description, so let's begin. Labyrinth of Zangetsu begins as many dungeon crawlers, where you can create your team or use some pre-created units. There are 6 races and 9 classes, but among these races there are slight differences like the number of items they can carry along particular skills. And yeah, that makes sense, even the game gives you small hints like this race works for this and that or this class. Keep this idea in mind because later it's going to make sense, what I am going to point out. As for the classes, you don't really have the chance to choose whatever you want, because it is a system that works a bit different. As your character grows, they increase or decrease attributes, so when they reach the right number of stats, you can change them to another class. With this system in mind, we could arrange these classes like beginner, advanced and master. Nonetheless, the game gives you the chance to create whatever unit as soon as you meet the minimum stat. That goes for particular scenarios like samurais and wizards, in most of the cases for what I saw. Now here I want to debate a bit the following ideas, because there are many ways to actually specialize units as you advance. For example, in older Fire Emblems you had a simple path of evolution. An armored knight evolves in a general, specializing the role, or evolving into a paladin, which had the base idea of a defensive unit, but with better mobility under normal circumstances. And in a good number of games where you can promote your units, the same idea applies. Here it is a bit different, but not completely original, because you can reclass to whatever you want, once again, as soon as you have the minimum required stat. For me, it will be great, but it is not as easy as it sounds, because as I said, every unit is going to increase and decrease its stats however they want, pretty much making this race thing kinda meaningless, and even bad idea in some cases if you truly want to, let's say, min-max some units. So it felt like the race thing was something done as it sounds as a cool idea, but lacked a solid foundation. For example, let's say in most cases half Onis increase strength, or Nekomatas dexterity, naturally specializing each race for particular roles. And I meant that this idea is not unique in its own way because Stranger of Sword City has the same premise, where you can reclass to whatever you want, but there you don't have a particular stat limit to reclass. What is cool is that you can keep every single skill that you learned. This of course with the small adjustments, like the total number of spells you have for the specific scenarios of clerics and wizards. Other than that, every unit keeps every skill. For the following cool idea with a pure execution is the alignment. If you know a bit of Dungeons and Dragons, there are ways to make this alignment system bring unique combinations or way to proceed in a story. But here it worked as a kind of limitation, because in my case I had a cleric that reclassed as a paladin, and pretty much stayed as a tankier cleric, because it had a neutral alignment that gave her no other extra skill. This of course is a crappy execution, because while I accept that in normal cases paladins are good to choose, limiting every single class skill to an alignment is just not that great. I mean, they could have assigned particular skills for evil, good and neutral to bring peculiar classes and skills in the game. And that gets to the next point. Once I was reaching the end of the game, I ended up with 4 ninjas and 2 sages, with not many differences whatsoever, aside from a couple of different skills among them. As for the general gameplay, there is a cool idea that I always accept, which is the Permadeath, or slightly different iterations. For example, when I started the game, I created every single character and the idea was to finish this journey with this original team. Oh, how fool I was, because once one of them died, and I saw the fee you need to pay for a chance to revive them, and yes, you heard right, a chance, I was like, oh my god. First of all, it costs a lot. Second of all, with the time it's going to take me to get the money, is it not better to get another unit and train them better? In paper for me this death thing sounded cool, but once I started seeing the implications I was like, this character died, oh well, time to create a new character, train them better, and use the extra money for equipment or more healing items. So to avoid that particular issue, just throw in a good cleric and they will later revive around at level 15, so you don't have to pay a single penny in a chance. There is another system that I found interesting, but also kinda limiting. Let's say that reviving a character is expensive, that way every choice really matters. Okay, I can live with that, as I lost several characters, where only one of them survived the whole nightmare since the beginning. This game introduces corruption as a permanent status element that reduces the total HP. When I saw that a small number of enemies and bosses use this, I thought, ooh, this is an interesting idea, because every boss fight becomes into a fight against time, as they can increase the corruption level, sometimes reaching a point where there is no character able to tank any more hits. However, once again, we reach the following issue. You fought a boss. It used several ink moves corrupting your units, but the amount of money you need to pay is just a bad joke. Bringing the question, is it worth training other characters and just forget about this one? Naturally, this lost thing became so regular for me that I ended up forgetting about dead and corrupted units, increasing the farming sessions, and for a game that lasts for around 20 hours, it is not that great. I mean, polishing these ideas with a better money adjustment, they could have been cool for me, or completely keep a stance like, actually, you know what? You lost the character. Simple as that, but it became into a money issue. Aside from those ideas, the general gameplay was quite cool, between the different dungeons and puzzles among them, starting with simple ideas, and slightly increasing the difficulty in the map as you proceed. In all honesty, I don't mind if a game is this short, as soon as it delivers a good experience. Even considering what I mentioned, I will say its gameplay is a 6.5. And for the final score, considering the other topics as I usually do, Labyrinth of Zangetsu gets a 7.3. It is a decent game, but its gameplay definitely needed a better polish to make it much more memorable. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.